So there's this feeling that we get sometimes when we read something that feels fake or someone's talking to us, but it just doesn't feel connected. It just doesn't feel real, and we want real. And if that's you, you're in the right place today. Sales Ascender Chris here. We're talking about authentic copywriting today, because copywriting are simply words that sell. And when it's done in a way that is completely authentic, meaning you're connected to the words that you're saying, people can feel the story, they can feel the emotion, it's visceral, you can't ignore it. It's the thing that you want more of. It's why we've all embarked on the hero's journey, movie after movie and book after book after book, because it is irresistible. So in order to break down this authentic copywriting, authentic approach, we need some help today, which is why we've brought on Shauna. Shauna, thank you for joining us today. How's it going over there in Canada land?
Beautifully. Despite the snow, it's going beautifully.
So we were just chatting before we came on live. I think, I don't know, some other business owners and sales ascenders would find this interesting. It's snowing, yet you're planting and you're growing businesses, and you're also growing all the squash is what we're hoping for. Is that what you said? Butternut?
Yeah, it's definitely squash. I don't know what kind.
Okay.
And yeah, we're planting even though it's snowing, because I mean, where we're at, it could be snowing on May 24. So, I mean, really, you got to start. You got to start somewhere.
Well, that said, let's start with you. Let's start with your story and why you have such a passion for authentic copywriting. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, for sure. So, growing up as a excuse me, as a young woman, and men, of course, as well. But as we know in our culture, women are often told to behave in certain ways. And so for me, living outside of that box, just behaving however the heck I wanted to, because I have an amazing mom who empowered me all the way along the way. I got to see a lot of people who experienced things in life in such a way that didn't give them what they really wanted, because they weren't being who they really were. So, you had a lot of people who were like, why are friends coming and going from my life? Why am I experiencing these things? And it's all about, like, if you're not being who you want to be, like who you are intrinsically within yourself, then you're going to attract the things that you don't want to be.
Something that I've heard you mention already, and everyone listening, watching, it seems like you liked the space that you had growing up. You feel that you were given room and time or attention or encouragement to learn who Shauna was, and whatever that is, let that grow. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, I had a pretty typical, like, bullying upbringing type of thing when it came to school. Okay. So I wasn't the cool kid. But I think the really important part of that is that I attracted the people who stuck by me, because my mom always told me to just be me, to rise up, like, kind of like Taylor Swift, you shake it off, you ride, the haters are going to hate, it's okay. The right people will come, and they're the people who will support you in everything that you're doing in life. You
get a cool point for quoting Taylor Swift. I don't know if we're going to do song references throughout the conversation, which I fully embrace. That would be fun. Okay, so you're shaking it off. You had this room. You were bullied, but you're like, that didn't deter you. You're like, I'm focused. I'm committed to being me, and what that means, being true, honest, genuine, with yourself. So this makes sense. That's kind of the place that you start from, and that passion is continued into what you do now, which is copywriting, writing words that sell on blogs. I know that's a strength of yours. Sales pages, webinars, all the things, where all the copywriting and words that sell live. Is there any particular one that you like to focus on?
Yeah, I love the copy, the real copy end of things. Like when you're talking about blogs, that's usually like the content end of things. You can weave copy into that, and I encourage you to do that. But I like going a little bit lower in the sales funnel. I do all of it. My favorite is when it's like you can see the results, the impact that has right away. It's, I don't know, maybe it's the culture that we're growing up in, where we're wanting instant gratification. But I love the fact that I can write a sales page for somebody, and really we sit there and we talk usually for a few hours, because it's important that I represent somebody authentically and who they are. It takes a while to get to know somebody and where they're coming from. So taking that, translating it into a sales page, and having them call me back, let's say a month down the line after they've done their launch, they say, oh my gosh, this launch went so much better because people got it. They didn't just get it. They didn't just get like what I'm doing in my business, but they got me. Like they wanted to invest in me as a person, because we totally jive. And that's life-changing for everyone.
Just curious, everyone listening, watching, something that you just kind of spit out? You know, it's done, you check the box, you move on. Is it something how many revisions have you made? Have you made 5, 10, 15 revisions on the same page? How many conversations with your market or other people have you had? Just curious, let us know, because kind of what I hear you saying, Shauna, is I spent hours talking about it, and it's just pulling out, you know, the meaning and what you're connected to and what you're passionate about. And that comes through in the writing, and that's ultimately what why people are connecting to it, is something like that.
Absolutely. It's a really happy medium. I'm just creating some new stuff for my own business that talks about how, like, it's this meeting of minds between you and your ideal client. It's this idea of presenting yourself as your authentic self, because it's very, very important. But it's also the idea of presenting yourself in such a way that will still draw in the people who need your help. There's a really beautiful middle ground there, where you get to not dig through that, you know, that suitcase that people carry around with, what mask am I going to wear today? We don't want that. We want to throw that away. You're going to come through as yourself, but you're going to make sure that you're coming through in a way that your audience is going to understand where you're coming from, resonate, engage, convert.
So obviously, like, some outcomes of, you know, great copy are all the things you just said, engagement, but let's talk a little bit about how we get there, how we get to that outcome. What are like, you have key questions, or, you know, what's some of the process that you bring yourself through or other clients through in order to kind of remove all the stuff that's not as interesting or gets in the way?
Well, I would argue that a lot of the fluff is very interesting. I mean, I come from a psychology background, so you could tell me anything and I'm like, oh, I want to learn about this. What is going on? But I understand where you're coming from. The biggest question that I ask people that I get, I guess I'm going to say 2 questions. You know, what, I know you've already heard this. What makes you different? I know that question sounds so horrible, but once you actually start talking about it, it's surprising how many people are like, well, I'm passionate, and I'm, you know, and they list off all of these things that they think they're supposed to say. And I'm like, no, listen, throw out the BS, guys. Just come into it and tell me what actually makes you different. That's what you ask me, what makes me different? Well, you know, I was bullied as a kid. What does that have to do with copywriting? Well, I just told you. There's more things than you can ever imagine within your experiences in life that affect you and how you can effectively help others in your business. It's amazing how much your life and business are connected and how they can directly impact your bottom line.
I love what you're saying. Can you share an example or a story?
Yeah, for sure. I won't name any names, but I know this one woman, and if she winds up watching this, she'll know who she is. And I love her to bits, because we've had a few of these conversations where, you know, what makes you different? And I got those classic answers until finally, after pulling teeth, I can't tell you, I'm surprised that woman had teeth left in her face, but she finally started telling me she went back to school as an adult. Like, I mean, like, she is a mature adult, and she decided that her already degree that she had wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
She went back to school and is going in for, I can't remember if it's a second degree or if it's a master's degree, but in something like biomedical science. Like,
that sounds intense.
That's great. And she didn't think, she thought it was nothing. It's nothing. I said, no, that makes you different. What does that tell? What does that tell your people about you? You were with it enough. The people who you wanted to serve, you were invested enough to go back to school to learn more, to serve them better. You are ambitious. You stick to it, because even after she went back and realized she didn't necessarily have to, she's still going to finish it. All of these things, I mean, the list could go on. They all really make her stand out as a person. And the story that is attached to those features they resonate, right? That's what really gets the emotions going. You can tell somebody that I'm ambitious, but that means nothing until you say, I went back to school as a mature adult. Like, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it does. And, you know, there's the things that happen, and then there's the meaning that we assign to it. And so, you know, what you were picking up on, it sounds like, you know, with her is, you know, how she was more, you know, relaxed about it. But you're like, no, if you kind of put this in context, though, that's actually a really big deal. And I think that highlights some of frankly, the value that you provide. It's having a copywriter, a sales and marketing mind to evaluate your life and business and see it from a different perspective. It's so easy for our strengths, or what we think are normal, to oftentimes be extraordinary. But it's weird for us to say it, but if someone else sees it and says it and believes it, and then you bring it to that person tells somebody else, they're like, oh, totally, that's awesome. That is like normal or socially acceptable or feels okay. But oftentimes for us to be like, no, guys, like, tuning your own horn, so to speak. So, this is one case. I'm trying to, I like to go to the other side.
Go ahead.
Like, tell us, how do we spot horror? Like, if we're writing if we're watching, listening to this right now, and we have to write an email sequence, and we need to write, we just need to do it ourselves. That's where we're at. Solopreneur. Maybe we have a team, but we just need to get out. We need to check the box. How do we smell out bad copy? Like, save us all some time here. Like, how do we,
for yourself, or when you're reading somebody else's?
When we're like, for ourselves, like we're writing our own, email sequence right now, or next blog article or social media post, or how do we, is there a filter you can share with us to save us the embarrassment of just another crappy post?
No embarrassment. There's always learning, right? It's not about embarrassment. You learn. Did this work? Did it not work? Change it to something different as you move on. That's okay. Now, I can take this twofold. So you have maybe less effective copy because you're being inauthentic. That can get a little woo, but I'm going to tell you anyways. Does it feel good? In the end, when you reread what you wrote, does it feel like it's in alignment with who you are as a person in life and business? That's like the authentic part of it. If it doesn't, if something's like, oh, would I actually, like, is that actually me? Or am I just putting, like, is this one of my masks? Because you got to throw those away. That goes in the garbage. We actually, in my group, we actually talk about things like cussing. That can totally be a thing. Like, for some people, cussing is a part of who they are. And if they try to sugarcoat it a little bit too much, they start like going Martha Stewart on people. You can tell if that feels good or not. And the reverse can be true too. If you get a little bit too cussy because you think it's in the market or it's hip or something, like it can feel inauthentic. When it comes to just the strategy end of copywriting, I actually have a funny little thing that I did right when I started out, and it still stands true today. It's called You Need Copy. Who knew? So U stands for your client. Make sure you're addressing the person. So I don't want to see like all the eyes. I can do this and I can do that. And we don't want to say you. You is an important word. You're talking to your client. We're trying to figure out, is every story you're telling going to benefit them? Because truly, they don't care about you. As they don't. I mean, it's a harsh truth. Sorry, guys. They don't care about you. They care about themselves and their journey. You're just their guide. The need part is, have you addressed the need? Have you figured out what are their pain points, or what are their goals and dreams? Whatever you're driving them to, have you addressed the need? And then the copyright is, have you asked? Have you included a CTA? What are they supposed to do with this information? So you're talking to them. They've received it. They're resonating with it. They have this drive. You've established the need. Now what? Don't leave them hanging. Give them a CTA, whether it's hit reply to this email, drop your email here, reply to this post, leave an emoji, or buy now, leave a CTA.
I like it. That's good. So what I heard is cut I out.
For the most
say
part.
You, because for the okay, and say you, because they don't care about us, and that's okay. I like how you said that. And that's the nature of what the product or service that you're delivering anyway is designed to serve somebody. So it is still about them. That's the point. So that's really good. And then buy now.
Yes.
That
and
phrase.
Establishing need. That's the in-between part, establishing that need. Because I mean, I can say you buy now. Nobody's going to be doing that, but adding the emotion of establishing need, with whether it's through pain points or goals and dreams and ambitions, desires.
How do you address pain?
Very carefully.
Okay.
Very carefully. And in fact, a lot of the times for myself, I try to focus more on the other side. So we're gonna remind them that they do have this pain. We're going to remind them that this problem exists for them, but it's a reminder. We're not sitting there. We're not dwelling there. They're not happy there. So reminding them, yeah, this is a thing that exists for you, but it's okay, because I know these are your goals. These are your desires. This is where you want to be. And guess what? I'm the guide to take you there.
Okay. So it's like reference pain, flipped a pleasure and, hey, you use me
Here's the
as your guide.
solution.
Yeah. Okay.
More, here's the solution, because again, we're talking about them still, right? We're not, we don't want to necessarily talk about ourselves as we move forward. We want to still make it all about them. Here's your solution that I, like, parentheses, that I happen to offer. That's just kind of the journey there for making sure, whether you're writing an email, no matter what, it can be, you can write an email that's like, I don't know, 5 sentences long, and it can still follow that same kind of outline, that same structure.
Talk to who are the copywriters that you admire and you've learned from?
Well, number one has to be Abby Parrots. And I hope I'm saying her name right, because I always stumble over Abby Friedman Parrots. She's actually the leader of the Freelance Writing Mama Facebook group. She does a whole thing. I've taken lots of her courses. And she's just so empowering and motivating. And she just gets you into this space where you know, like, she delivers all the information that you need to know. And she gets you into a place where you're confident in doing it because it's all there. Like, and she's living the life too. Like, she doesn't just talk the talk. And I think that's really important. A lot of people who, you know, they'll say, oh, I can give you this result, but they haven't actually taken that journey. I think that there's a hiccup there, but Abby is amazing. She is like my number one. I don't know. I've got so many people in my space, but I say she's my number one because I would say when I first started this journey, I frequently referenced her as my mentor. So shout out to Abby.
Nice work, Abby. Are there any particular like styles of copywriting that person modeling her in multiple ways? Just curious, like greats or the past, you know, like old time copywriters, or is that not really the area of copy that you've been drawn to?
I heard the last bit of the question. I'm sorry, but I didn't hear the first.
Oh, gotcha. No worries. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So just I was just curious of other copywriters. So Abby is like, it sounds like a good mentor in that space. Is there the greats like Eugene Lev, or is it Eugene? I always say his name wrong. I'm thinking that's the actor.
That's the actor. That's the Canadian actor, by the way.
Yeah.
He is for Canada all day. Let's do this.
Shout out to Schitt's Creek.
That's right. Yes.
The show. That's a funny show.
I could go all day. I think that needs to be celebrated.
That's funny. Right on. I won't beat that one up any harder. But yeah, Abby, we'll go with that one for now. That's awesome. So that's the inspiration that you follow. You know, for copywriting, are there any particular like projects and trends that you think would be helpful for all of us to know?
Oh, goodness, that's a tricky one. I guess it all depends on your journey, because for me, a lot of times I'm working with people on their content strategy as well. And content is a really big umbrella term that also it includes your copy, right? So the content that you're creating could be a video, it could be audio, it could be written, wherever you're at. And different types of content works for different people. With regards to copywriting in particular, it depends on where you're coming from. You can do, if you're doing email marketing, then that's the space that you're going to live in, right? You can make whatever strategy work. If you want to do social media marketing, if you want to write copy for Facebook ads, Instagram ads, wherever you're doing, or Instagram's a little bit of a tricky space for writing, but because it's visual, which is beautiful. I love the visual, but I'm a writer. And then, you know, it depends on your journey. I really couldn't say that I'm not the person to say that one thing works for everybody.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to like pigeonhole you and say, oh, this is the thing. No, it's not, Sean. Obviously, you know, where people, how the medium that people connect with. And so if you're heavier in writing versus someone that's more heavy in visual, like Instagram is going to be more interesting to them. What I was curious to hear is with the clients that you're working with and who you're talking to, is there any, like, what trends are you seeing from your perspective? So the right answer is what you're seeing, not holding you to any, you know, result or, you know, I don't know. Yeah.
So a lot of times what I'm seeing work is a comprehensive approach. So one of my little pet peeves is like when somebody's like, I just want a blog. Okay. Well, the problem is, how are you going to get people to your blog? So like for me, you really need a comprehensive approach. You need somebody to look at the big picture. If you're going to have a blog, awesome. Include some social media. I don't care whether, I don't really care how much social media. The more social media you have, the more eyes you're going to have on it. But as long as you're driving traffic to your blog, because otherwise your blog is just a sitting duck, right? I mean, no matter how much SEO you're going to use, you're always going to elevate its viewership by telling people. Word of mouth, right? So you're going to have this kind of comprehensive approach. The same goes for like your email. If you're looking at sales, you're going to want a comprehensive email sequence strategy. So you're going to want people to be constantly nurtured by this, by your company. And then you're going to want to make sure that you're guiding them on a sequence journey that gives them the value that they need, which really turns out to be kind of a really interesting map that provides you with market research, them with value, and all of the end goals are going to be to solve the problem for the person within that community, whether it's an email community or otherwise. You're going to take them on that journey to solve their problem, and then, of course, have the ask, whatever that ask winds up being.
Gotcha. So
does that answer your question?
Yeah, totally. What I hear is that you like to look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
So you whatever medium someone chooses, you're like, great. What's the answer for traffic? How are you getting more attention and eyeballs to that source, and then making sure the whole sales process all the way to conversion is accounted for. So
absolutely.
It was a great it's a nice little trip. Thank you.
I take a lot of those. Sometimes I feel like Doug the dog when you see a squirrel and you just, oh yes, brilliant idea. As a self-proclaimed idea blower upper, you can give me one thing and I'm going to give you 50.
An idea person, a creative. Would you identify as being a creative?
Absolutely.
Okay. What like give us something, being creative, and you've kind of self-proclaimed earlier in the conversation, I'm an odd duck, or I'm different. I was bullied, and because you probably stood out. What are some of those quirks that maybe not everyone knows about you or would know about you?
Well, I mean, I wear my heart on my sleeve a lot of times. I'm not an overly emotional person, I wouldn't say. I stay within the navigational beacons. You're not going to see me too high or too low. But I wouldn't. And it's funny you say quirks. It's kind of like that thing. It's like that popular kid idea of things is that like, well, I like reading. So for me, quirky is like, I guess, I mean, I read, but the people who I surround myself with, if you're not a reader, that's different.
Okay.
So it's kind of hard, but I guess that's one of the things. If you want to know a few of my hobbies and my interesting things that I like to do: gardening, reading. I like painting and doing fine arts. I used to dabble in karaoke. Don't test me there. You don't test me.
Oh, dang it. I was just going to go there. Okay. Just curious on reading as this pertains to, is it like fantasy, or are you reading other nonfiction books, or where do you go when it comes to reading?
I'm like a complete bibliophile. So you give me a book and I'm probably going to read it. However, I have to say though, like,
books beware.
Yes. Oh my goodness. If I turn the camera a little bit, you'd see my bookshelves. And it's extensive, and I've gotten rid of so many. Anyways, that's besides the point. I will read anything. Some of the books that I've been reading recently are more like self-development. Jen Sincero has been fabulous. I'm just diving into The One Thing. That one looks like it's promising. I also read Untamed recently, which is just to die for. It's so real and raw, but so beautiful. But then also, I love Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. I love sci-fi books. I also read Jane Austen, Charles Dickens. I mean, give me a book. But Stephen King is actually somebody who's been really empowering to me as a writer. If you've ever read his On Writing book, it's not his horror type of stuff. It's got like, no, there's a segment at the beginning that kind of goes over his life. Snapshots here and there of the weird things he's gone through as a person in his journey becoming the author who he is.
Interesting.
And then the end of the book gives kind of like writing tips and tricks. It goes over things like, oh goodness, I can't remember the names. White and Strunk, I think it is, but the elements of style. In that book, number 17 has been drilled into my head throughout all of my education and through Stephen King. Omit needless words. Just a fabulous rule from that book. But if you haven't read that book and you're an aspiring writer, or even if you're just trying to write your own stuff, it's a helpful book to just get you kind of in the groove of things and get you going, because why the heck not?
So this is fascinating to me, and here's why. I didn't plan this, but everyone watching, listening, what are we talking about today? We're talking about authentic copywriting. What is that? It's words that sell, but I mean, you know, maybe they're buying your attention, right? They're buying your mind space. They're buying your curiosity. These are all the things as business owners that we want. And so what we did was, what I essentially was asking Shauna was, what have you bought into? But she mentioned gardening and reading and what are those quirks? What are those things? And so we went down that path, and we eventually, oh, book. Okay, great. Like, oh, I'll devour any type of book. And then we got a little bit more granular. And she mentioned, you know, Stephen King is something that I recently read or reread, and you mentioned the process of how he sold you, or what you remember about that experience, which was what? First, the story.
Yeah. It
was first all the things about him. And then he gave us tactics, and, you know, that you replied, and you even recalled one of the specific things that he shared that was impactful. So what's so fun to me about the hero's journey and about marketing and being authentic is it's so easy. It's like breathing. It's like natural. It's like we went to that safe place, which is reading books for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very and
I feel like a bobblehead.
yes. Something that I often say, like, well, I'll label us all as sellers. We're selling something, right? Mm-hmm. And in order to be authentic, a big part of it is just remembering what it's like to be the buyer and how fun it is. It's an adventure. It's new. It's a journey. You feel things, you think things, and you overcome obstacles. It's like this. It's this fun journey. And so it was really cool. Just kind of thank you for. I didn't did not plan. I just as we were getting into it, I was like, the irony of this is just fantastic. Like I want to highlight this for everyone listening and watching, because I feel like, and we got to have another conversation also last week. I feel a part of your superpower is that process that you so naturally went through is like that. Like that is what you can pull out of somebody. But there's plenty of people watching and listening to this, I promise. And if this is you, just reach out to Shauna. And you're like, I was beating my head against the wall. I didn't know what to say, or I felt I said this, but it just didn't feel right. And I feel like have to convince people. And it's just this unnatural thing. If that's you, authentic copywriting is something that will be helpful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm always asking, do you hesitate to post? Like that's a huge thing. Are you typing something out and then you look at the publish or the post button or the share or whatever the button is, and you're like, then you might want to talk to somebody. You really need to kind of figure out things. We're going to peel back layers, going to ask all the hard questions, because that's just what I do. And then you're going to feel a lot better. Next time you're going to finish it and you're going to be like, sweet, done.
I love it. That said, Shauna, if people are in that place and they are feeling the things you just mentioned, where's the best place for them to find you?
My Facebook group, for sure. It's Own Your Originality in Content and Copy. I hang out there all the time. We're trying to have a party over there every day. We've got some pretty fun daily things that we do, and it's the engagement is just beautiful. Everybody's connected, everybody's jiving, everybody's ready to go. Because as I said, it's own your originality. Come and be yourself. There's really only one rule. Lead with kindness. Don't be a what. You're good.
Lead. Yeah, I like how you said that. That was perfect.
Oh, I made you blush.
So yeah, I'm filtering my brain over here. So You're good. You're good. What I like to end with, so that's where they know where to find you in that Facebook group. We should have the link in the description if it's not there already. Entrepreneurship, serving other people, it takes a lot. So why? For you, Shauna, like why spend your time? You have kids, you have a whole life. There's a lot going on in your world. Why take the time and serve other people in this way?
I talk to my grandma about this all the time. I know that sounds weird, my grandma, but like I'm actually really close to my grandma. And it's funny because she's 84 and she taught me a lot about this inadvertently and then directly. People feel good when they're helping people. They just do. So like if somebody offers to carry your bag or if somebody offers to get you the door or whatever the thing is, like for my grandma, a lot of times, what do you offer an old lady? You offer to do all sorts of stupid things. She accepts, even if she could do it herself, she accepts because it feels good. The same is through all helpers, all service providers. It feels good. You see the results. When I see my clients get their big wins, when I see them go from X number of conversions, emails, whatever it is their goal is, to like 10 times that amount, just because we changed up a few things and a lot of mindset stuff going along with it, it's amazing. It's like standing in an amusement park and watching other people ride roller coasters. And, most of them are having a riot, right? They're screaming, but they're laughing and they're smiling and they're going like this and they're just enjoying yourself. You could be on the ground, 2 feet on the ground, and you're still getting that joy. Like that's it. Like that's why you're serving, because you can watch people soar.
That's cool. That's cool. Thank you so much for helping us soar today, and all those watching and listening. And I appreciate it, and I know we'll have some more conversations. So for all sales ascenders listening, watching today, thank you. And there's so many talented people like Shauna, like yourself, watching this in our community, the Sales Ascenders community. If you're here, it means that you're a business owner. You're a real business owner solving real problems. You probably have a team, a growing team, or certainly need one very soon because you're great at creating messes and solving problems. So thank you for being here, watching this. We'll be back next week with solving more problems and with other specialists that are in the front lines, on the front lines, solving these problems. And our whole thing is, yes, Entrepreneur Island is a real thing, but it can be lonely, but it doesn't have to be. So this is the place where you can come to connect and hear and talk and chat with other like-minded business owners. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week.